Hiya. Today I'm going to read a couple of extracts from John McGahern's That They May Face the Rising Sun, which is a novel set in the Lakelands of Leitrim in the northwest Midlands of Ireland. So this is starting from page 1. The morning was clear. There was no wind on the lake. There was also a great stillness. When the bells rang out for Mass, the strokes trembling on the water, they had the entire world to themselves. The doors of the house were open. Jamesy entered without knocking and came in noiselessly until he stood in the doorway of the large room where the Rutledges were sitting. He stood as still as if waiting under trees for returning wildfowl. He expected his discovery to be quick. There would be a cry of surprise and reproach. He would counter by accusing them of not being watchful enough. There would be welcome and laughter. When the Rutledges continued to converse calmly about a visit they were expecting that same afternoon, he could contain himself no longer. Such was his continual expectation of discovery that in his eavesdropping he was nearly always disappointed by the innocence he came upon. "Hello, hello, hello," he called out softly, in some exasperation. "Jamesy." They turned to the voice with great friendliness. As he often stole silently in, they showed no surprise. "You are welcome. Ye are no good. I have been standing here for several minutes, and haven't heard a bad word said about anybody yet. Not a bad word," he repeated, with mocking slowness as he came forward. "We never speak badly about people. It's too dangerous. It can get you into trouble. Then you never speak, or if you do, the pair of yous are not worth listening to." In his dark Sunday suit, white shirt, red tie, polished black shoes, the fine silver hair brushed back from the high forehead, and sharp, clean features, he was shining and handsome. An intense vividness and sweetness of nature showed in every quick, expressive movement. "Kate." He held out an enormous hand. She pretended to be afraid, to trust her hand to such strength. It was a game he played regularly. For him, all forms of social intercourse were merely different kinds of play. "God hates a coward, Kate," he demanded, and she took his hand. Not until she cried, "Easy there, Jamesy," did he release his gently tightening grip with a low crow of triumph. "You are one of God's troopers, Kate." "Mr. Rutledge," he bowed solemnly. "Mr. Murphy." "No misters here," he protested. "No misters in this part of the world. Nothing but broken down gentlemen." "There are no misters in this house either. He that is down can fear no fall." "Why don't you go to Mass then, if you're that low?" Jamesy changed the attack lightly. "What's that got to do with it?" "You'd be like everyone else round here by now if you went to Mass." "I'd like to attend Mass. I miss going." "What's keeping you then?" "I don't believe." "I don't believe," he mimicked. "None of us believes, and we go. That's no bar." "I'd feel a hypocrite. Why do you go if you don't believe?" "To look at the girls. To see the whole performance," he cried out, and started to shake with laughter. "We go to see all the other hypocrites. Kate, what do you think about all this? You've hardly said a word." "My parents were atheists," Kate said. "They thought that all that exists is what you see. All that you are is what you think and appear to be." "Give them no heed, Kate," he counselled gently. You are what you are, and to hell with the begrudgers. The way we perceive ourselves and how we are perceived are often very different, Rutledge said. Pay no heed to him either. He's just trying to twist and turn. Thought pissed in the bed and thought he was sweating. His wife thought otherwise. You'll get on good as any of them, Kate. He took pruning shears from his pocket and placed them on the table. Thanks, he said. They were a great comfort. Pure Sheffield. Great steel. I bought them from a stall in the Enniskillen market one Thursday. They weren't expensive. The North. He raised his hands for emphasis. The North is a great place for bargains. Would you like a whisky, Jamesy? She asked. Now you're talking, Kate. But you should know by now that will ye is a very bad word. Why bad? Look at your man. He pointed to where Rutledge had already taken glasses and a bottle of Powers from the cupboard and was running water into a brown jug. I'm slow. You're not one bit slow, Kate. You just weren't brought up here. You nearly have to be born in a place to know what's going on and what to do. He wasn't brought up here. Not too far off. Near enough to know. He wasn't at school, but he met the scholars. Good health. And more again tomorrow. He raised his glass. The crowd lying below in Strahan aren't drinking any drinks today. Good luck. What's the news? No news. Come looking for news, he cried ritually, and then could contain his news no longer. Johnny's coming home from England. He's coming home this Tuesday. Mary got the letter. Yeah. There's another little piece here as well I'm going to add on. So this is much later, probably about a year later. September and October were lovely months. The summer ended, winter not yet in. The cattle and sheep were still out on grass, the leaves turning. The little vetch pods on the banks turned black. Along the shore a blue bloom came on the sloes. The blackberries moulded and went unpicked. The briar leaves changed into browns and reds and yellows in the low hedges, against which the pheasant could walk unnoticed. Plums and apples and pears were picked and stored or given around to neighbours or made into preserves in the big brass pot. Honey was taken from the hives. The bees fed melted sugar. For a few brilliant days, the rowan berries were a shining red-orange in the light from the water, and then each tree became a noisy infestation of small birds as it trembled with greedy clamouring life until it was stripped clean. Jamesy arrived with sacks of vegetables and was given whatever he would take in return. When the All-Ireland finals in Croke Park were live on television, Rutledge walked round the lake to watch the match with Jamesy. Jamesy poured whisky and Mary made tea and sandwiches. The irregular striking of the clocks from every quarter of the house throughout the match served as a cool corrective to the excited commentary. The team Jamesy supported nearly always won, his support completely based on which of the teams he thought most likely to win and provide a triumphant, satisfying end to the year. Once they lost, it was as if his judgment had been impugned. No use, he thrust out his hands. They should have been ashamed to turn out. It wasn't even worth looking at. When the match ended and was talked over for a while, Rutledge and Jamesy, accompanied by the two dogs, walked out to the lake. Thanks for the game. It was great fun. The right team won this year anyway, he remarked complacently. We'll watch it again next year. With the help of God, Jamesy said firmly as they separated. The shore was dry, the fallen leaves rustling against his tread. Not until he reached the alder at the gate did he see the Mercedes stationed in front of the porch. Once he entered the house, he could hear his uncle chatting happily with Kate. "Will he be able for it, Kate? That's the 6 marker.